Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of my character design video where I turn seasons into queens. Part 1 is already up where I drew spring and summer. I will link it in the description and somewhere on top of this video so you guys can go ahead and check that out. So for part 2 we're gonna be drawing autumn and the winter queen. So let's go ahead and get started. So next up in the seasonal order is the autumn queen. So with the autumn queen, when I think of autumn, it's very cozy and very like homey, and since autumn is like my favorite weather or my favorite season of all time because it's not too cold but it's also not too hot, so it's like that perfect in between when it comes to the autumn weather. So when I also think of autumn, I imagine that you'd be cozy up in like a sweater or a blanket and you'd be like cozied up next to the fireplace with either like a book or an iPad or whatnot, and of course, you can't forget about like the pumpkins and the cinnamon, the pumpkin spice, you know, that whole thing that happens during every autumn season. So that's sort of like the headspace I was in when I was creating this queen, and to be honest, it was surprisingly a struggle in terms of creating this into a character. I did have a vision in mind of what she would look like, where she kind of has this like introvert looking sheepish look, which is why the way I drew her with the pose, like with her hand behind her head, and then she has like a glasses, and I don't know, I thought that would fit more of that autumn feel to me. Though as far as like her character personality, I did have like a couple of ideas, but I wasn't so sure what would be best fit. So the original idea, or the first idea I had in mind, was that she originally did not want to be queen. She feels like she's not really up for the challenge. She thinks she's not like her mom, but because like this is royalty, she doesn't really have a choice. So she was put into a position that she's not very happy with, and because of her lack of confidence and her sheepish appearance, she tends to not really do her queenly duties in a more appropriate way. And even though like her people, how I imagine it, because autumn is all about like being cozy and stuff, I imagine her people wouldn't really think badly of her queen because her mom left a very good impression, and along with her family that she was raising, so they don't really think bad about the autumn queen or like her specifically, but in her mind it's sort of like this self-conflict and self-struggle of not really, or really thinking of the opposite, where everyone is judging her and expecting her to do what a queen's supposed to act, really. So that was my first original idea. The other idea was that she is always very hands-on, like she took up the queen duty very quickly, and instead of like having, you know, like servants or the lower class like doing everything, she likes to basically get her hands dirty. Like she always wants to help out as much as she could, even though I feel her people feel like she shouldn't be doing this. Or when I say people, I probably meant the royal court, because you know, royalty aren't meant to work. That's for like the lower class people, or for like servants or villagers. But for her, she doesn't really see that, since because she is queen, she thinks that she is responsible for making sure that all these tasks are being done, and then showing her people that this is what must be done, and then I'm gonna leave it up to you, or something kind of like that, where it's not really leaving them in the dark or something like that. And another thing too, she always gives off kind of like a motherly vibe, and so when the people see her, they knew that they just feel warmth, they feel welcome by her every time they meet her in their homes and towns and stuff like that. So I guess with the flaw that I had in mind for this second idea, where she is like doing what needs to be done as queen and always helping out her people, I think deep down she also I still wanted to keep the lack of confidence, even though she is showing it out front, but in deep down she feels like she isn't really doing the right thing, I guess. So I guess it's sort of like she feels like that she has to do things better, hence why she's constantly having to get her hands dirty, having to do all these tasks herself, in order to basically, what's the word, kind of like appease her lack of confidence. So because of this, there are times where, because I imagine since autumn and winter are like very close in terms of like the seasonal order, I don't know why I chose that, but so I had imagined that Autumn and the Winter Queen do have a very close bond, and Autumn essentially looks up to the Winter Queen like her older sister, and so whenever she feels like she's doing something wrong or she doesn't have this confidence like the Winter Queen, she goes to her and asks for advice, like probably like during tea time, or just to get away from these royal responsibilities and just have time for themselves, which honestly is such an adorable scene that I'm thinking of, where they're just cozied up in their pajamas or something, and just like having basically a girls' night, like a slumber party or something. And I thought that was just really, really cute. So the inspiration and the ideas I had in mind, I knew I wanted to incorporate those fall colors, so like the orange, the browns, the reds. And while I was trying to figure out the colors with those, I began to struggle a lot, because with all the reds, browns, and oranges and yellows and all these colors, they're way too warm, and I was beginning to feel pretty flustered because it just didn't feel right to me. And so of course I went to my husband just to give me some sort of idea on how I can make this look better, because I don't want her to just be constantly in the warm colors, until he said to just do a green dress, like a dark green dress, not like a bright one. And I was like, oh my god, you're a genius. And so that's basically what I went with, is a green dress with like a white skirt underneath. I wanted to give sort of like that layered look with her garments, because it's autumn. It's not terribly cold, but it's like around this time where people are starting to wear thicker clothing, like layers. And so that's what I had in mind. And the style of this dress, originally I thought of kind of like a Renaissance dress. I feel like I didn't really capture that very well, because I feel like I just kind of just put something together with the inspiration of the Renaissance, and that's basically what I came up with. Overall, like, I don't think this design is that terrible. I wish I could have done a bit better. Like, I feel like there's something there that I just can't really figure it out, and the more I think about it, the more it's gonna drive me crazy. So it's like, I just gotta get this out there. But honestly, like, I don't hate it. I absolutely love her. I think it matches the vibe with fall, and I do like the idea of giving her glasses, because I don't know why, but like, whenever I think of glasses, I just imagine like a shy introvert bookworm. So yeah, I mean, she might as well just be one. That's also an idea I forgot that I thought of, is that she's a bookworm. She has a library of her own, and during her downtime or her free time, whenever she doesn't have to do her courtly duties, she would just go to her library, and then she would have like a secret corner in that room, and she would just read books. And it's just, I don't know, I think it's perfect. But I love her. I definitely, if this kingdom were to be like a real thing, I would definitely just live there. And then knowing that the queen is like this shy bookworm, I can like, I'm not so much of a bookworm, but I am like a very introverted person, and so I think she and I would get along pretty well. So finally we have the Winter Queen. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love this design of the Winter Queen. It kind of feels very nostalgic, because when I first tried out this character design with turning seasons into queens, like I said in part 1, where I, instead of starting off with spring, I decided to go backwards and start with winter, and that was a very failed attempt, because I ended up not liking her design at all. But this, however, this one I felt very, very good about. So with the Winter Queen, in terms of like her personality and her character, and I imagine her that she is the true embodiment, not, I won't say true, but like when you look at her, like, she is a queen. Like, she has that regalness, that beauty of a queen, and it's basically what everyone would envision a queen supposed to act. So for her, out of all the 4 queens that I've introduced, she definitely would have to be the oldest, and I wanted to give her sort of like this what's the word? I'm not even gonna attempt the word. Like, I want her to show like this confidence in her posture, like, but at the same time she's not showing too much, but she will let you know that, hey, I'm queen and you're gonna have to respect me that way. She doesn't really respond with her emotions most of the time because of how she was taught and raised in her kingdom. She mostly rather think logistically and realistically, which a lot of people tend to find it pretty harsh and cold, no pun intended, because like she always has like this very serious stoic look. So whenever she speaks to someone, a lot of times people that first meet her, they kind of feel very intimidated because of how she presents herself. Because of this personality, I'd imagine that Summer Queen definitely would not get along with Winter Queen at all. The way that I imagine these two, they're both basically the extreme ends of the spectrum. So you have Summer, who is like all the way down to the left, where she is very like free will and why not have fun and whatnot, but she lacks the responsibility of being a queen. Whereas with Winter Queen, she's all about the responsibility. She's all about getting basically stuff done in a timely manner and making sure that nothing is going amiss. But at the same time, she kind of feels like she needs to let loose sometimes and not be too strict on these like set schedules and whatnot. And then of course you have Spring and Autumn who are in the middle, so they're kind of like a mixture of both, but at the same time not. But so despite being this very intimidating, serious queen, deep down, whenever it's towards her loved ones, she is very, very loving and devoted to them, and especially her people. I forgot to mention, like, she cares about her kingdom and her people like she's watching over them like a mom, though she may not be like Autumn, who's like personally, you know, being with her people. Whereas with Winter Queen, she doesn't do the physical work. I guess, I don't know, like, that's the thing that Autumn and Winter Queen do share in common, is that they care. They're like a mom to their kingdom, like their children. And so her devotion, when you see it, it's very like heartwarming to see her that way, because she does care. And because with her, that soft side, she also is very patient. She doesn't get too emotional or get too stressed out. She's definitely that one cool friend where they may seem like they don't like you, but if you get to know them, they're actually very, very sweet. And the thing that kind of, I imagine, like a funny side to her is that she can be pretty awkward. So let's say like someone was like, you know, making a joke, and then the Winter Queen tries to try to respond to joke back in a jokingly manner, but it turns out to be so awkward because it feels like she doesn't get it, since to her she has to think realistically and logistically, and that kind of like makes things a bit weird. So in a way, I think for a character development for the Winter Queen is that she learns to let loose, like I mentioned before, where she understands that sometimes she needs to put herself first and do the things that she wants to do, like in her spare time, rather than always working and then drowning herself in work. So the inspiration and the process of this drawing. The inspiration, literally the first character that came to mind was Navir from the Remarried Empress. It's a Korean manhwa about an empress named Navir who used to rule, I forgot what empire, but she used to rule a certain empire when her emperor decided to take in a mistress, who, by the way, this mistress is a two-faced little I don't like it. But the reason why it's called the Remarried Empress is because she remarried King Henry, who now became her lover. And honestly, it's such a good like low fantasy period manhwa. Highly recommended. But yeah, when I saw Navir, like how she is like this beautiful empress, I was like, this is how I imagine the Winter Queen to be like. So in terms of like her design, originally I thought about making her dress like all white, like sticking to that wintry snow color palette, but then I realized it's too much white, and so I was like struggling to figure out what's a good color palette, and then when it comes to dress, I decided to make some modifications. Like weirdly enough, the dress for this character was a struggle because I was like reminiscing on nostalgia, where I added some pieces whereas originally the old Winter Queen design I had in mind, but then I realized this might not be a good idea, so I got rid of like the tulle part of her skirt and just kept it kind of simple but at the same time very queen-like, I guess. So as far as colors go, I decided to go for more of a darker blue, like a midnight navy. And honestly, because she has like a very pale and her hair is like very bright, I figured that a dark dress would suit her very well, and turns out it was. I think it's very sophisticating looking and it's not too much in your face, like it matches her so well. And then with the cape, I also had the struggle of figuring out what color I needed to go with, because originally it was going to be the dark navy, and then I scratched that idea and decided to go, maybe what if we make it like a Aurora Borealis themed. Still didn't do very well because it was clashing with the dress, and so husband to the rescue, he said why not red. And so when I put on the red, because since it's a primary color, it's not gonna clash with the blue, and so when I did it, I loved it, and so I went with the red. It makes her look more regal, like how I wanted her to look, and because her lipstick is red, I feel like it's also a good like flow as well. But yeah, so that is the Winter Queen. I adore her. I love her design. Like, she is definitely my favorite, and I just noticed that with the pattern with the autumn and winter is that I struggle with the color palette, which is weird because like I'm more into like the darker tone colors, but I guess with this one it's not like it's not like simple as like black, white, and red and whatnot, which is like my favorite color trio. But hey, you know, I absolutely love the final result of this Winter Queen. It's so beautiful. Ugh. And so here are the final results of the Autumn and Winter Queen. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I do. I absolutely had a blast with a bit of a like stress here or there just to get that vision going with these queens, but nonetheless I love how it turns out, and thank you guys for watching. I definitely have like a proper set schedule now with how I want to post these videos, whether it be my comic blog or a character design video. I'm thinking like maybe every 2 weeks on a Friday it will be a video, but I'm just trying to test the waters a bit and see what suits me best and see if this is a proper way to like upload more videos consistently. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the next one. I'm very excited. I already have plans for it and I cannot wait. Oh my god, I'm so excited. But yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day and thank you for watching. Bye bye.